Hello, and welcome back to Introduction to Digital Political Campaigning. This week, week 8, we'll be talking about data collection and data analytics. A few modules back, we got into big data. I believe it was module 2, a little bit about big data in the 2016 presidential campaign. But let's circle back with a definition of big data, and that is refers to predictive analytics and behavior analytics, and it captures data, data storage, data analysis, and search. Etc. Just so we have a quick definition of big data. And your assignment this week is to do the Google Analytics for Beginners. It's a really robust and neat exercise and a certification. You'll be certified Google Analytics for Beginners, and it gets into the interface and analysis of audience acquisition, behavior reports, and also you can set up goals and campaign tracking. So it really helps on a practical basis get into what we're talking about when we say data analytics. You will have done it through the Google program. Okay, big data analytics plays a big role in 2016 election campaign. So what I like to talk about is the real-world application of what we're talking about, big data, but how did it really impact things? And in this case, we're going to talk about the 2016 presidential campaigns. Just a little bit of background. In the last decade or so, the internet, social networks, real-time analysis of data has played a key role in communicating with and swaying voters. In this past decade, President Obama's 2008 and 2012 campaigns were really the beginning of the revolution of political connectivity, data analysis, and taking it to a whole new level to communicate and touch and appeal to voters. They used this connectivity, the two Obama campaigns used the connectivity and data analysis to deploy emails, targeted web advertising, social networks, and conventional television and radio ads to attract likely voters. And in 2016, both the Republican and Democratic campaigns, they really picked up on the big data connectivity template, and we're going to get into, speaking of real-world applications, more later about the Trump approach. And I touched on it a little bit, more than a little bit, some in the week 2 lecture on the 2016 campaign, but we're going to really dig into it a little deeper this time. Okay, so why big data is so important? Well, a big reason it's so important today is that polling numbers have been so bad, so inconsistent. Some polls look at regular voters, some look at likely voters, some use only phones, some combine it with digital polling. So in 2016, as we talked about, it was all over the map in terms of how the polls were done, and also in the results of the polls. So, and it's also, speaking of using phones in polling, it's becoming increasingly difficult to reach people on the phone with a handheld and mobile phones. Particularly millennials, they don't pick up the phone. Millennials I know, they don't like to talk on the phone. They rather text or email. And the thought of a millennial having a landline is not going to happen. The millennials I know don't have a landline, and they don't even like to talk on their mobile phone. So just a little bit of a background why more and more polling is probably going to become more and more inconsistent, hence the need for big data. So that said, 2016 created even a bigger shift in the way that the elections are predicted and the way things turned out. As I mentioned, polls were all over the place. All major polling companies, almost all major polling companies, got it wrong. One week Hillary is on top, the next Donald Trump was closing in. So that said, this inconsistency in polling and the inability to reach people on the phone, traditional polling models have changed and are hence the need for and the importance of big data and data analytics. But the key today is harnessing the big data to predict and to work for the campaign to get the message out through, this data is coming through multiple sources, and here's what I mean by harnessing: smartphones, internet, email, social media. This all needs to be analyzed, and you're going to get into a little bit of that in the Google Analytics exercise and certification. Today we can collect about 400 pieces of data on the average American voter, and because of this, it's creating a more predictive and reliable model as to where campaigns are headed and who they need to talk to and what they need to say to them. All right, now let's dig a little more into the Trump's digital approach and a data program. It's called Project Alamo, led by Brad Parscale. Back in Module 2, I had some interviews with him placed on that page. So back to Brad Parscale. He had a team of 100 staffers, and they were headquartered in San Antonio, hence the name, a code name, a project name, Alamo. The team deployed a digital strategy. It was comprised of 3 elements: big data analytics, the OCEAN model of behavioral science, and ad targeting. Following Trump's nomination, Parscale built a database for this Project Alamo, and it identified 220 million people in the U.S. and with 4,000 to 5,000 individual data points about the online and offline tendencies of each of these persons. In addition to that, he added, Parscale added other external data to the mix, which is key for attracting a Republican voter. Voter registration, gun ownership, credit card purchases and history, and internet account identities. The Project Alamo, the campaign, worked with Cambridge Analytica. This is a British company, to target audiences with specific messaging using what's known as psychographics. That is the measurement of psychological traits, and they did it. The Cambridge Analytica came up with this OCEAN model. We're going to talk about that now. Okay, OCEAN, you see OCEAN, openness. This is the things that they're digging into to getting the tendencies and the traits and the information about key voters. Openness. How open are you to new experiences? Conscientiousness. How much of a perfectionist are you? Extroversion. How sociable are you? Agreeableness. How considerate and cooperative are you? Neuroticism. Are you easily upset? So digging into these OCEAN elements, you get a psychographic background of key voters and how to reach them, and in turn how to reach them and with what message once you get inside of their heads with this psychographic information. So with this database and voter information and the psychographics from Cambridge Analytica, the campaign utilized this background information and did a lot of work via Facebook and the Facebook analytical tools. So I wanted to share those with you, the analytical tools that Facebook has available to campaigns: is custom audiences, audience targeting options, lookalike audiences, and brand lift. So as Parscale mentioned, the Trump campaign relied heavily on Facebook for not only for the analytics but also for the advertising and reaching the right audiences. Okay, over the course of general election campaign, Trump campaign, the digital team, Parscale's group, they generated 100,000 distinct pieces of creative content across social media and other media, and this machine, this is key. The machine, this digital machine and the data analysis machine that Parscale put together drove some key things. Fundraising efforts. It was able to identify who would be likely donors, and they came up with $275 million through Facebook. Like I said, they relied heavily on Facebook for messaging, but also here for fundraising. It drove their data analysis drove candidate appearances. Where would be the best and most receptive clusters of persuadable audiences and voters? Where do they reside? It drove electorate expansion for Trump and the Trump supporters, but also was able to suppress Clinton turnout and Clinton supporters. So this is a quick rundown of data analytics and big data and how it affected the 2016, how it evolved and affected the 2016 campaign, and also how it was used very effectively by the Trump Parscale approach. So anyway, check out your assignment, the Google Analytics for Beginners, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.